as a new business that has started over the last 2 years, I think that some people look at us from the outside, or whenever people are starting your business, people look at us and they're like, be careful who you partner with, or don't give up more ownership or control than don't give up more than 51%, or, just like people have their own perspective of what we should be doing as individuals that know us individually, don't know us as a group. And I think that it takes a lot of things in order for us to be able to come together as a group of four and be able to grow a business, make the impact that we've made. I heard that some stat about how many businesses actually make certain levels of income, and we're like in the 1% that, and we've only been doing this for 2 years, and then most small businesses fail. You hear that all the time, and we've obviously surpassed that too. So I think that it's something that people need to see in perspective of four people, totally different individuals, different backgrounds, from different places, who have all come together in different ways.
All the way from Chalmette.
All the way from Chalmette. And what has made us allow us to get to where we're at. And I have some things that I think that we've done. And one of the things is humility, I think, is the first thing that we all have, I think, that has allowed us to be able to operate within a group of four. It's not an odd number, which some people are going to say, well, don't ever have an odd number. We have an even number of people, and we all have different personalities. But I think humility has gotten us to where we're at today, or a big part of it, or one of the things that have gotten us where we're at today. What do you think about that?
I think that, we work with a lot of business owners, so hopefully Becky can attest to this too. Business owners typically have a certain personality of desire for drive or control that usually fights against that aspect of being humble or remembering to be resourceful. And so it comes out in two ways. They either go so hard that they're eventually failing and they realize that they need the help of someone else, or they're smart enough to study successful people. And if you study those successful people, you see that not one incredibly successful person ever tried to do everything themselves. Not one of them. I mean, you can look at not only thinking of like principle of business and leverage and delegating, but just in general, like in life, like we look as humans, we generally look for a life partner in some sense, right? Because there's some other side of you or something else that's going to connect that helps you be a better person. So I think it's down to like innate personality that we do better if you find the people that complement you, and you just have to be open-minded enough to have that help. And then on the flip side of that, you find some really successful business owners that were really good at what they do. They may not have had the ambition and the drive that fights against the humble nature, but they have the desire to always, I guess, never ask for help, if that makes sense. I don't know the opposite way to say that, but never ask for help. So they want to take on everything themselves. And again, until they bleed themselves dry and then they realize they have somebody else. So I don't know if it's just divine intervention that we found each other at the time that we did find one another, because even though our business is young, we were not novices to business in every sense, right? There's always something to learn. I think that goes behind our nature of why we work well together too. We're always looking to be better, but we had an idea. We had some experience working with somebody else. We each had some experience, three of us, for working alone, individually, in our own practices, right? And so we came to the table understanding, like, this is the best bet.
Yeah, I literally coming to the table was sitting at that coffee shop 2 years ago and looking at all of our common goals, knowing enough about our value system that we all knew that we aligned in that way. Yeah. But I know that sitting at that coffee table, there was no way that I was going to be able to accomplish what I accomplished without having the three of you there with me. Like, there's nobody else in the world that I would have said they needed to be a part of the group. But, like, there's no, like, we wouldn't have gotten to where we're at today. I knew that in that moment when we were sitting down at the coffee shop in Slidell, freaking 9 o'clock at night, like, scheming this up, on a freaking napkin, that we were going to get here. I mean, I knew that we four had the potential, but, like, there's no way that I could have said that person's not going to be involved and we would have been able to get to where we're at. Yeah. Especially once we started sketching it out on paper. Like, we started sketching it out and drawing out our accountability chart, operating chart, organization chart, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, it just fit together too clearly for it not to be, okay, this is going to work. It's just going to take a lot of work, but there's no doubt that with the four of our personalities that we would have gotten there. Yeah. One, we wouldn't be able to do it without anybody, and everybody was necessary, and I wouldn't want to do that with anybody else. I'm not just saying that because we're sitting on camera. Like, it was just truly that moment I knew that we were able to do it because we had the 4 of us sitting there. There's no way that we were going to be stopped.
And that's how it works. Like, you don't know when the opportunity is going to present itself, and so you just keep working at bettering yourself, honing your skills, those sort of things, so that you are ready to jump when the opportunity presents itself. And I feel like all 4 of us have been doing that over the years, even before we knew each other. And then we all happened to be together whenever the opportunity presented itself, and we were all ready.
Yeah.
So moral of the story, don't open the plant shop.
I would have, at the point in time before we got together and we all said that we're going to do this together, I would have fucking opened a plant shop, and I would have been perfectly okay with it at that point. Because I mean, like, look, I mean, you doing business with people that you don't enjoy doing business with, or people that don't compliment each other, or don't have the humility. It's miserable, and like, I just don't think there's ever been a point in time where any of us have looked at the room and been like, I could do that person's job better, or I think I should be doing that, or why do we have that person in that role? I mean, like, everybody is in a very specific position, and we did it intentionally. And again, I would not be able to do any of your 3 jobs the way that y'all do it. And I take that as I have the humility to know, like, I'm going to sit in my spot on the disc wheel, in the operation, in the accountability chart, and in the role at which I'm responsible for doing. And I'm going to focus on my job, because y'all are just more talented and more gifted.
It makes sense. Like, when I worked for another firm, and the owner had me going to these how to manage law firm seminars and reading the books on it and sitting through the conference calls and stuff when I wasn't the owner. I mean, it paid off. You know, it helped me. It helped.
Divine intervention right
there. I know
there.
it did. I learned all of that stuff, so I was ready when it was time.
I don't know that I could continue to do the practice of law if it weren't with y'all. I was talking to a guy last week. I was up in Monroe back for Thanksgiving, and he's also an attorney. He's probably about maybe 10-ish years older, right? Good guy. I've known him my whole life. And he's like, well, how you doing? How are things going? I'm still practicing law. He's like, yeah, and kind of doing it's unfortunate, and we laughed, self-facing laughter, and I said, though, I said, look, I couldn't do it. I'm able to do it and keep my head up high doing it, even though we're grinding and putting in a lot of hard work, only because of people I'm doing it with, because of my partners. And like, that is like a bath of relief to me often. And going back to the humility, there's a line in that book. It's a super sweet book. It's a children's book, but anyone could use it. It's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the boy asked the horse, I'm pretty sure, what's the bravest thing you ever said? And he said, help. He asked for help. Yeah. And it's like that. I read that. I took a picture of it immediately on my phone. I was just like, Gray, 6-year-old, trying to explain it to him. He's like,
do you understand what I'm reading?
Yeah.
Sure, Dad.
And I'm like, yeah, he asked me for help every 30 seconds. So he has no problem.
But like, speaking of that, like, being able to explain to your 6-year-old, I feel like sometimes you talk to other business owners and it's like you're talking to a 6-year-old. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you as a grown up not understand that there's value in having partners that have your back, that you can have honest conversations with and have vulnerability to know, like, I need support in this way because it's not my gift and you're better at that than I am. I'd rather you do that, and be able to tell your clients and your partners and the people you do business with, hey, you need to talk to anybody else on my team other than me about this because they're way more talented. Like, I mean, I can figure it out, but I don't want to waste my time and yours. Go talk to him. Trust me, I guarantee you're going to be happy with that experience. And like, I think that y'all deal with more business owners than I do. I deal with real estate professionals, and I hear them say the same thing. It's like, I can't afford that, or I need to do this for myself, or I don't trust anybody else to do that work. It's like, it's got to be
then you'll stay stagnant.
It's got to be an exhausting existence to think that way.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's a limiting mindset.
Yeah.
But some people are like coming from environments where they don't know what it's like to be open-minded or to see opportunity or see possibility. I mean, some people literally have to coach themselves out of that.
Well, and look, I mean, like, and y'all have been incredible resources to me in that exact respect, particularly when I was on my own. You're talking about that. Yeah, you learn a lot. You kind of cut your teeth in the business world things, but just was blind to a lot of the important aspects of running a successful business, where, like, it's not just, okay, I feel like, I'm likable, I'm smart enough, right? Me in doing lawyer stuff, being a lawyer and doing lawyer things, like, all I need to do to get there. And then
for that existence, yes.
Sure.
And it's okay for them.
Right. No doubt.
Right?
But if that's where if that's the ceiling you want your ceiling to be, by all means. But you know, it's hard, particularly when you have a group of creative people who enjoy challenging themselves. Like you said the other day, which is there's a little craziness involved. There's no doubt about it, and it's just really inspiring.
Like, but speaking of humility, like when we sat down and talked about where we were trying to go, like obviously we put it on a spreadsheet and it looked nice, but like how many did all of you think that was going to be accomplished within the 2-year period that we have operated?
Hell yeah.
I mean, seriously.
I mean, we backed the numbers in. Like,
I know, but
it's
still,
almost.
there's always the, oh man, so is this too bold? You know?
I guess that's my crazy side. When
Yeah, I
I'm like,
guess,
this
yeah.
shit looks hard. Let's do it harder.
Yeah, right.
Which
We're gonna push faster.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that way because I mean I had spent that the week before scheming up like this whole deal because I mean it happened in a freaking week. Like we made the decision to make the move and we were like, all right, let's go. And like we were and you told me you're like, we got to look to make sure that this is a reasonable thing to do. And I literally did not sleep thinking about, okay, how do I break the numbers down? And when I
11
presented it to you
days.
guys, do I?
11 days.
Yeah, and when I
took us
presented it to
11
you
days
guys
up and running.
on pretty much again at the coffee shop, we never really talked about, and I know you've talked about stretching a little bit from a mindset standpoint, but like,
Yeah, I mean, that was huge for me because I'm like, anybody knows me or has worked with me, I'm like slow and steady, wins the race. And I catch all the details. And when I don't, I get mad at myself. I overthink things 3 times so that my clients don't have to. And so when it came down to me, I wanted it to be like very realistic. And when Jared was giving me the numbers, it was just interesting because usually with anybody else, I would have been like, okay, let's stop. We need to reel this back in. But Jared was so excited. John, Lauren, everyone was into it. So it was like, all right, let's do this. Because I knew that I had 3 people with me that were going to help push and get everything done. So I felt comfortable like giving into that and kind of like just jumping on for the ride.
Yeah, there's a crazy kind of sense of like peaceful abandonment that comes with an acceptance of risk, particularly when you've got a good group,
Yeah,
and
that's
a
exactly
good team.
it.
Yeah, it's weird. I had not, really experienced that until those moments when it was just like, yeah, we're about to push the throttle. But it's a breakthrough of that limiting mindset,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that, I don't know, just mulling over that in my head and thinking about, our story as a group, I think that humility is probably one of the foundations and cornerstones of what has kind of like inspired our values and why we all came together and what we're planning to do as a group. And so I don't think that we sit here today accomplishing our goals from last year and this year and then thinking about what we're doing next year without having the humility to know, like, we can't do it as a group, but as a group with everybody supporting each other in the way that we know that we can support each other, that there's no doubt that whatever we do next year it's gonna come to reality because Becky, John, and Lauren all have my back in the way that I need them to have my back in order for me to be able to be my best self so that we can accomplish our goal.
Yeah, bingo.
And so I just think that humility
Another
is
thing I like also with humility, I think this would probably go under that, is like not one of us sits there watching our bank account grow fatter and fatter, or it is not the reason we get up and come to work every day because, that is as a business owner, you wouldn't come to work for a while. But we come every day because we're giving our staff opportunity to grow and meet their goals, their personal goals. And then like with real estate, it's exciting. You get to see the real estate agents, they're meeting their goals. The lenders are meeting theirs. Someone's buying a house for their family, and then someone is getting some money to go do whatever they need to do, buy a new house or something. It is just an exciting thing to get up and help all of these people, move their lives forward.
Yeah, I think, and to that same note, it's funny you said real estate and you focus on our business because I think for me, having a couple of the businesses that we've been in the room with that have helped them make a decision to do things or not to do things has been another exciting part of the whole experience, and seeing people make those decisions based on our advice has been huge. I mean, in ways where we end up not making any money, maybe encouraging them not to partner so that we don't have things to work on, has been also really rewarding to see that too, and helping people make life decisions in general that are going to better themselves and better their family. I think it's huge. And I think, and none of us take it lightly that we've had this opportunity. And we've gotten the awards from the chamber and from our underwriters and things like that because we've been able to do some great things. But most importantly, it's the impact that we've been able to make on the community that we have. I think that's huge. And I think people see that they look to us because we have been able to do all these things with four good people, and we've made a good decision on who we partnered with. We made sure that we were the right fit before we decided to go into business together, and that we've maintained what we all thought we all had over the last 2 years and tried to make ourselves better, which is what we're trying to do all the time. So,
and it wasn't without a very stern and forthright and just like kind of cut to the bone conversation, which it definitely happened more than once of, are we ready? Can we do it? Right. I mean, like, as far as not are we capable of achieving things, but like, can we, from a stress and mental and home, right, balance all that with the demand that this was bringing on?
yeah.
Not for the faint of heart.
Not for the faint of heart.
No.
And I'm sure people jump off the ledge without necessarily having that or navigating that conversation first. And it's kind of glad we did, because you can't, you look back and say, you can't say, I didn't expect this, right? And now I'm suffering more because my expectations aren't being met. It's like, no, we knew we were getting into. And
that brings up our spouses. Like, whenever I told Brian this is what I wanted to do, I mean, he was like all for it, like had just as much faith in me than like anybody would, or more actually. And was just kind of like, yeah, whatever you need. And so it is hard, but I'm so thankful to have someone that helps me with Wilder, more so than a lot of men do, and is really supportive, because I know I couldn't be here without that help.
Yeah.
No doubt. And I mean, it's the humility at home too. I mean, there's no doubt that you have him supporting you, and I have Stephanie and Ashley and Jason supporting. I know all of our spouses take a lot of that stuff off our plate so that we are able to do what we're trying to do, and they believe in us just like we all believe in each other to get there. There's absolutely no doubt about that, and they all support us in completely different ways. And I remember another thing about whenever over that time period in which we were like trying to decide whether we were going to do this, even though it was a short amount of time, I felt like it was eternity, because she kept saying to me, we got to make sure the numbers work. So like I'd put together a spreadsheet all night, send it, and she was like, do that again. And we did it like several different times before we actually got to where we were like, all right, this is it. And so it was like, again, I look back on it and I'm thankful that we were pushed to do that, and that Lauren pushed me to think about it more than just like be excited about an idea, but like really get down in the weeds on the idea and make sure that we were ready to go.
Yeah.
So,
and the numbers working not only on the business financials, but does that work for your family?
Yeah.
Because having 4 partners, you have to truly be in an agreement on what you're going to take home and if that's going to work for your family, and to prep your family for that as well. Because that's another thing you just see. You have people that have brilliant ideas, but are they willing to make the commitment and the lifestyle changes that allow them to take the next step?
Just the marshmallow thing you were saying, the people.
Yes, you do the marshmallows with the kids, and I haven't done it with Jocelyn. I did it with Dylan, but you present them in like, okay, you could have this one marshmallow right now, or if you wait 5 minutes, you can have 3 marshmallows. And that idea of the delayed gratification and that bigger return that they would get with that commitment, it's imperative. And you can watch how their brain works there to see if you have to coach them to that mindset in the future. But too many parents didn't do that with their kids. And so you see a lot of business owners, especially in today's environment, and it's that do it yourself. And you could watch anything on social media and YouTube and it looks like it's easy. And then when you get in the grind, it's really hard. But if you're in the grind, it's really hard, and everybody's going, hey, we already knew this was going to happen. You're not scared.
Yeah.
You're not scared. You're going, this is exactly where we're supposed to be. I don't freaking like it. So I'm going to turn up and work harder. But this is exactly where we were supposed to be. So I'm uncomfortable right now, but it's a planned discomfort. Right? And so no one's attacking anybody. If you do that without that plan, what do people do when things get hard? Self-preservation. That's when people start fighting,
turning on each other.
You start turning on each other because you're like, I got to look out for my own. And we all have families to protect, and we love one another and respect one another, but our obligation is to our family first, and we all know that. And so if you don't have that know-how, that expectation set, then yes, it can go south very quickly. And we watched that happen with a lot of partners. And I'm like, all right, well, what did y'all talk about before you got started? Well, we didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then part of the humility too is being able to see the four of us make the lifestyle changes that we had to make in order to be able to invest in this business. And that meant like selling a nice, pretty car that you bought a year ago so that you can afford the cheaper note. I mean, I know that my family had to make those sacrifices, and I know you and I have talked about it a lot more maybe than we have, than me and Lauren and Becky have talked. But like we talked a lot about, you know, what your family's doing, what my family's doing. I know we've all made a lot of sacrifices in order for us to be able to do this. And from an outsider perspective, it's like, you know, we're not Scrooge McDuck rolling around in the coins in their house. Still, it's been 2 years. And I mean, you know, we had a conversation today with somebody who talked about reinvesting in your business or taking the money out. The marshmallow extra I just talked about. It's 100%.
Yeah, we had an awesome pod today.
Yeah.
Also with Steve. But I mean, the mindset of reinvesting in the business, and if you looked at our P&L and our balance sheet, you wouldn't necessarily see like a heavy reinvestment in cash and hold, but our investment went in the fact that rather than drawing distributions, we hired more people. Like
Right.
we have scaled to nearly 30 people now between contractors and employees, mostly employees, and the benefits package that we give them. And that's constant reinvestment in our capabilities and growth. Now we're positioned, Jared and I talked about it last night in our short conversation drive home, like we are positioned to scale so much more without having to add a single person next year because of the training, energy, and support that we put into people this year. So that reinvestment is huge. And then on top of that, it will show, our expenses will show the investment that we made in the community. And I think that's what's so important to me is like we set the purpose of what we're going to do. And so none of y'all are coming and saying, Lauren, why don't we have 100,000 each to distribute at the end of the year? Because we already made that commitment to put it back into the community. And then you know, how the universe works, right? You go and try to make an impact and it comes right back to you. And we get honored with that award. You know, the award wasn't you're out of the gate running and because you are the most successful business. No, it's you're out of the gate running because of the impact that you're making on the community. And so like literally I am an emotional person, but I don't get like joyously in tears, but I did for that because it's like we established an exact purpose of what we wanted to do with this business was impact. And 2 years later, we're awarded with doing that.
Yeah.
Like that means so much to me. And so like, yes, working the numbers and the financials and meeting our goal, y'all know how I am on that. So that's exciting. But like, I already feel like we obtained so much because we are fulfilling our purpose. And so it shows that we're on the right track. And that's a big feat for 4 people that even though, you know, you have this unified goal, it's easy to get distracted. Everybody still has little shiny objects that come up in the squirrels that pop in their head. And for us to stay focused and truly fulfill that. And now we're at that position that we can scale while living our purpose. Like I can't be more fulfilled.
Yeah.
So this is, I guess, a good cliffhanger for people who actually listen, who listen the whole way through. I wrote down 4 reasons why I think we were successful. I think humility is the first one I put. It was the first one that came to my head. I think it's important, and then we'll get into the other several reasons that I feel as though we got successful and hear from you guys too. But I think that it's safe to say that we all agree that humility was a big part of that. And if it wasn't for our own individual self-awareness and humility, we would not be sitting here today. I'm thankful that all of you have that characteristic, and reminds me of why I think that we all made the right decision 2 years ago to start the Arena Collective.